I'm amazed by the diversity of Chinese architecture. If I live in a 四合院 in Beijing, or if I have a private garden in Suzhou, what a sweet life! Life is a kaleidoscope. Who knows whether your dream could come true or not? What if you were given a chance to decide wherever you like to live? Is there any kind of house you've been dreaming about? In this section, give the rein to your imagination. But wait, before that, keep a cool head and listen attentively. Grammatically, there is a mood specifically designed to describe conditional or imaginary situations, like a pipe dream, an earnest wish, anything contrary to fact. That is called subjunctive mood. In this section, we will first sort out the grammatical rules for the use of subjunctive mood in if clause, as this could be quite confusing in some cases. Then, we will practice it for the description of our dream houses. Dream big, start small. First, how to use subjunctive mood in if clause. We often summarize the three basic formulas of subjunctive mood in if clause within a table like this. But most students still find it difficult to remember. In fact, the table could be simplified. In present improbable conditional sentence and the future improbable conditional one, the if clauses should both adopt the past tense of the verb, and the main clauses share the same verb forms. The modal verbs should, could, would, or might, plus the base form of the verb. Thus, we could combine these two situations together as one, and only have to distinguish it from the past improbable conditional sentence. The next trick could be seen from this timeline. As we just simplified, in the present or the future improbable conditional sentence, we use the past tense of the verb in if clause, and in the main clause, the modal verb followed by the base form of the verb, while in the past improbable conditional sentence, had plus the past participle are used in if clause, and for the main clause, the modal verb should be followed by have plus the present participle. Learning these rules, you may realize the mistakes made at the beginning of this section. If I live in a 四合院 in Beijing, or if I have a private garden in Suzhou, what a sweet life! Considering the fact that this is an unlikely situation, either at present or in the future. Too cruel. An improbable conditional sentence is better to be used in this case. If I lived in a 四合院 in Beijing in the future, I would invite my friends to come have barbecue in the central courtyard every day. Of course, to indicate the unreal situations, you could also say, if I should live in a 四合院 in Beijing in the future, I might have to ask for help for the cleanup. Or, if I were to live in a 四合院 in Beijing in the future, I could convert it into a salon to promote traditional Chinese culture. By the way, aren't these good ideas? Another example for the hypothesized present condition.
If it weren't for him, I don't think any of us would be sitting in this room right now.
Really? Sheldon not being here is the main reason I'm in this room.
It's true. None of you would know me. You wouldn't know Bernadette. You wouldn't be dating Penny.
It's Christmas time, and friends are sitting together in their cozy home, recalling about their sweet moments. When they talk about the significance of Sheldon, one of the leading characters who is absent at the moment, a series of subjunctive mood sentences are used. We can see from the adverbials of time, right now, that Amy is stating an unreal condition of present. It is worth noting that the verb in if clause is weren't, the negative form of were. Do remember, in subjunctive mood, the be verb in if clause should always be were, regardless of the subject, as in the sentence, if I were Wang Sicong, I would buy a classic garden in Suzhou. In the TV drama, the reality is, it is just because of Sheldon that they are sitting together and get to know each other. What's done cannot be undone. So Amy says, if it weren't for Sheldon, only to suggest a hypothesis, which would never happen in real life. If I had a classic Suzhou garden, I would be sipping drinks in the pavilion at my backyard now. How about subjunctive mood in the past improbable conditional sentence? Do you still remember the timeline? Here is an example. If I had been born in Mongolia, I would have had a more fun childhood living in the yurt. Here, we're talking about a situation that happened in the past, when someone was born and at a young age. Subjunctive mood used in the past improbable conditional sentence often expresses regret or complaint. To those who have been born and raised up in big cities, they may feel a pity not having a growth experience on the broad grassland. In the if clause, we use had plus past participle, had been born, to wish for an imaginary situation, followed by the main clause, another possible life in the past, would have had a more fun childhood. So far, we've learned the basic patterns for the subjunctive mood in if clause. There are two more things to note. First, the word if in if clause could be omitted, and the be verb or helping verb, were, should, had, etc., could be brought forward to the beginning of the sentence. For example, instead of saying, if I had been born, I say, had I been born a princess in the Qing dynasty, I would have lived in the Forbidden City. Second, the if clause and the main clause are not meant to be bounded together to follow the same tense. Instead, they each can present a different tense in need, while keeping the format under the corresponding tense. This is called mixed conditionals. For instance, if I had specialized in architecture at college, I would be able to design my dream house myself now. The if clause is stating an unreal situation in the past, when I was at college. Thus, had plus past participle, had specialized in, should be used to express a regretful choice of measure. This choice directly influences the situation now. So, for the present tense in the main clause, it is grammatically correct to use the modal verb plus the base form of the verb. We say, would be able to, suggesting an impossible potentiality for my present life. Anyhow, it all boils down to this grammar table. Decide the proper tense for each clause, then follow the correct verb form underneath correspondingly. Now, we have all we need to describe our dream houses and plan our life there. follow the 4W questions and start with an if clause. Let's give it a try. If I had a chance to choose, I would love to live in a 四合院 hidden in recess of the Hutong in Beijing. It would be the simplest type, a typical quadrangle with a small courtyard in the center, surrounded by rooms along the four sides. I might raise a large breed dog to keep me company, and the courtyard would be all his to play. I could also invite my family and friends to come from time to time to have barbecues or throw scene parties. Most importantly, as I like gardening, I would make full use of the courtyard to plant trees, flowers, and even some vegetables, so that I could have a secret garden in this bustling city. After all, the Chinese used to say, the hardest seclusion is in the city. In this section, we systematically combed a tricky grammatic rule, the subjunctive mood in the if clause, and learned to use it for the description of our dream houses. Take a time machine and think wild, be it the luxury in a palace, the freedom in a Mongolia yurt, the elegance in a classic South garden, the peace in a wood lodge, the romance in a sea view house, or even the adventure of carving out your niche on Mars. You can have them all in your dream. Call me a dreamer. Who says that? Life is but a dream.